Hello, we're going to continue our lesson with The Great Gatsby by starting with Self-Made Boys. You're supposed to read chapters 1 through 10 last week. We're going to continue talking about it. Just as a reminder, the author is Anne Marie McLemore, and they use they, them pronouns. So when we're talking about the author, you should use the they, them pronouns. So this is like The Great Gatsby, but gayer. It's very LGBTQ plus inclusive, as you can see from the first couple of chapters. It follows Nick Carvejo, which is a reimagined version of Nick Carraway from The Great Gatsby. He's reimagined as a trans Latino man who moves to New York in the 1920s to try to make something of himself and pay his parents back for helping him to transition. He is set up in a quaint cottage at the generosity of his cousin Daisy. Daisy's fiance Tom has a lot of money, so Tom sets up the financials for Nick in New York. He is moving in next to Gatsby, who is his neighbor, in the neighborhood that's like high society New York in the 1920s. Jay Gatsby is, again, the charming next door neighbor to Nick, whose politeness, open-mindedness towards different people, ideas, and societies leaves Nick head over heels. If only Gatsby wasn't in love with Daisy, Nick's cousin. And both Nick and Gatsby are transgender men, which is the double entendre of self-made boys. So this book is really different from The Great Gatsby. So obviously the two main characters are transgender men, which was not a representation that was often seen during F. Scott Fitzgerald's time. It takes elements of The Great Gatsby, but it changes them so much that it really is its own story. So this isn't going to be exactly like what we read in The Great Gatsby. It's going to be the only thing that's really similar are like the characters, but even they are like super different. This has really good representation because it has transgender characters, it has queer characters, lesbian, non-binary, Latinx characters. So it has a lot of different representation in one novel, and especially good representation considering it's set in the 1920s. The cover is beautiful. If you guys see it on in your books, it has the nice art of the two main characters on the front. The whole book or part of the book is through letters exchanged between like Nick and Daisy, Nick and his parents, Daisy and Daisy's parents. But the rest of the book will be through Nick's point of view, like the original Great Gatsby book was. Just to recap, kind of think back of what you remember from the original novel, because we're going to go revisit F. Scott Fitzgerald's original novel and kind of compare and contrast it with Self-Made Boys. So don't let all the Great Gatsby knowledge leave your head quite yet, because we're going to return back to it as we keep on reading in Self-Made Boys. Later, you guys will have a creative writing assignment. You will be writing your own retelling. You can do it after anything you want. We're going to go into that in another slide in just a little bit. And then we're going to do some close readings, some analyzation, some interpretation. We're going to compare the novels through literary analysis, see what's different, see what's similar, and see what both authors did to bring this story to life, but in different ways. And then we will be having a chapter quiz. It says chapter 1. It's probably going to be pushed into chapter 2 a little bit, but you guys are supposed to read chapters 1 through 10. So you guys shouldn't struggle too much. It should be fine. So to recap, in The Great Gatsby, in case some people forgot, Nick Carraway is the narrator for The Great Gatsby, the F. Scott Fitzgerald book. And he narrates his life in New York City, as does Nick Carrejo and Self-Made Boys. His life revolves around his rich neighbor Gatsby and Gatsby's obsession with Nick's cousin Daisy. Gatsby can't be with Daisy because she is married to Tom Buchanan. Tom is already having an affair with another woman named Myrtle. Daisy accidentally hits Myrtle with Gatsby's car, so Gatsby takes the blame, but then is shot by Meryl's husband to get revenge for his dead wife. So far in Self-Made Boys, this is what we know so far from chapters 1 through 10. We know Nick Corvejo is a Latino transgender man from Wisconsin. We know Nick's parents are farmers who are very accepting of their son. They helped him transition. Nick is visiting his cousin Daisy, who is also of Latin descent, but is trying to pass as white to be accepted in high New York society. Part of this has to do with the fact that Tom's parents have a lot of money and they are intolerant of people of color. So in order to kind of benefit from Tom's wealth, she is trying to pass as white, but don't make any mistake when you're reading this, Daisy is still a Latina character. It's just how she presents herself in this novel is different from her actual identity as a Latina woman. And Nick meets Jay Gatsby, his neighbor, and learns that he is also a transgender man. They learn this at the party when they have to change shirts because something spilled on Nick's shirt. So they figure that out when they see each other's binders for the first time. So that is how they learn about each other being transgender. And we know that Jay somehow knows Daisy, but we don't exactly know where and how they met quite yet. So, due on Tuesday, you need to write a brief analysis about The Great Gatsby and what you've read in Self-Made Boys. Here are a few topics you can write about. Don't feel pressured to use these. They're just some ideas. If you want to brainstorm some ideas with me, you can totally brainstorm some ideas. Nothing is super set in stone, and I can work with you guys on whatever you guys want to write about. But here's some ideas to write about. A big discussion we had was, is Nick Carraway in the original Great Gatsby novel queer? This has been debated a lot through a lot of literary scholars, so there's a lot of evidence to support that he is queer, but there are arguments that say he's not. How does your analysis of Nick and the Great Gatsby change your perception of Nick in Self-Made Boys? If you believe Nick was queer, does Anna Marie McLemore do a good job at expressing and validating Nick's queerness? If you believe he was straight, what does McLemore's reimagining inform you about Nick's character and his relationship with Gatsby? What does it mean for Nick and Jay to be self-made boys? How does their relationship differ from their relationship in The Great Gatsby? And then Daisy is a very complex character that people feel different about because of her circumstances and a lot of the choices that she makes throughout the novel. Do you feel the same way about her in this novel, Self-Made Boys, as you did in F. Scott Fitzgerald's novel, The Great Gatsby? Why or why not? And what feelings do you associate with Daisy in the two different novels? This will be your creative writing assignment. This will be a little farther down the line, but just to get you guys thinking about it. Eventually, you will all write your own retelling. This can be a retelling of a book that we've read this semester, a fairy tale, a movie, a TV show, or any form of text or media that is engaging for you. We'll put a spin on each of these narratives to create your own unique story. Some retellings that I know have been popular have been Cinder by Marissa Meyer. It's a retelling of the Cinderella story in like a steampunk alternate universe. Phantom of the Opera is a retelling. The musical is a retelling specifically because it is a retelling of the original book. It changes a lot of things from the original book that was written a long time ago. Once Upon a Time is a TV show. I don't think it's on anymore, but this is a retelling of a bunch of different fairy tale characters. They take the fairy tale characters and they interweave them with each other, so that's also a retelling. The Green Knight is probably the newest one on here. This is about a retelling of the King Arthur stories, and the Green Knight is Sir Gawain, who is on Arthur's Knights of the Round Table, so it's a retelling of his story. And then the one a lot of you I think are popular with is the Percy Jackson novels. It's Greek mythology retelling. So that's still considered a retelling since it's all taking place in modern day in like a different universe. So a lot of retellings will take stories and put them in different worlds to make them retellings and make them different. I know Anna Marie Michelmore did not do that with their novel. They're still the same characters, but they add a lot. They change the characters a lot in their novels. So that's how they distinguish their novel as a retelling. You guys will have a quiz on Self-Made Boys. This is to see what you remember. I will be asking you to explain your interpretation and analysis of both novels. But I will also ask you guys to share any questions you have about either book. I want to make sure this is all super clear before we transition further into Self-Made Boys and start doing more assignments. So if you have any questions that you want to ask me before the quiz, feel free to do that too. The end section of the quiz will just strictly be for anything you want to know or anything you're confused about. This will not be graded. This is just mostly a review. Later down the line, you guys will have an actual quiz about both books, but you guys will finish Self-Made Boys first before I'll give you guys that quiz. Great. And I think that is it. So if you guys have any questions, just let me know. But otherwise, this is what you guys are going to be working on for the next couple of weeks. Alrighty. Hope you guys enjoy Self-Made Boys.